My name is Sandy Adamitis, the social media director for the Page International Screenwriting Awards, and your host for the Writers Hangout, a podcast that celebrates the many stages of writing, from inspiration to the first draft, revising, getting a project made, and everything in between. We'll talk to the best and the brightest in the entertainment industry and create a space where you can hang out, learn from the pros, and have fun. Hi, I'm Sandy Adamitis.
Hi, I'm Terry Sampson.
Terry, it has been a while since we have been in the studio.
Yeah.
Kind of fun. I like being back here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was your 4th of July?
It was loud. We don't really have organized fireworks here much anymore. There's a few places. Mm-hmm. But ever since Los Angeles got a fire season,
yeah,
people stopped shooting fireworks into the sky.
I hope so.
Yeah. So instead, the bad kids in town.
The hooligans.
The hooligans. Yeah, the hooligans have been setting them off like crazy. It's all night.
Independent fireworks.
Oh, yeah, they're independent, all right. They're so independent, they do something, they run. They go from back alley to back alley.
Yeah.
And it's a mess, and it's annoying.
Yes.
They don't give up till like 2 a.m.
Correct.
And frankly, I've given up by 2 a.m. I'm trying to sleep. I give up. I got to go to sleep. I got to go to bed.
I live next to Universal, which does a big fireworks display. And
is that new, by the way?
I have never heard it extended so long. It felt like the minute it got dark till 2 a.m., it was just fireworks constantly.
Well, I am telling you that stopped at 9. And the rest was Hooligan.
The hooligans. Yeah.
And then they said, they have to try to get to the same noise level.
At least in Studio City, the Hooligan fireworks, usually up to July 4th, it's just horrible. There's just so much random. Not too much this year, at least in Studio City. But then they made up for it.
Yeah, July 4th. That's true. Usually
it's the lead up.
Yeah, during the pandemic, people were really shooting things for like a whole solid week.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And the poor dogs, it really upset them. My cat, Sophie Jo, did okay.
Okay.
How did your Sharon do? It was a person, but I wanted to include you.
She bit a few people, but other than that, I think they had it coming to them.
If Sharon bit someone, they had it coming to them.
She bit people, and I sprayed them with a hose on the front lawn. Okay, so we had a pretty good time. Good. That's a good 4th for us.
Good 4th. So we both had a good 4th. Woo-hoo! I'm glad we figured that out.
Sweet.
Hey, Terry, today I'm going to talk to you and the writers about V. Yeah. Now it's V, the original miniseries.
Okay.
Are you familiar with V, the original miniseries?
I missed V because I thought it was 5, and I said, I've already seen 4. I'm not going to go into 5.
5 right away.
Yeah, so I really feel bad because this sounds pretty good.
Okay. V, the original miniseries. And one of the reasons why I wanted to share stories like this with the writers is because it's really good as a writer when you're in a pitch and you're pitching your script to a studio executive. If they bring up classic TV, films, shorts, anything iconic, is used a lot in conversations. And let me tell you, just saying, I wasn't born when that aired, does not work. People just kind of roll their eyes and they just keep the conversation going. Nobody cares. They weren't around when Casablanca came out, but they know all about Casablanca.
Right.
So just those are some of the popular, Casablanca, Star Wars. What's the classic one? Birth of a Nation. That's so racist now. We know.
Yeah.
It's good to know your history.
Right.
And we're going to talk about V. So you writers, when you're in a pitch and the executive brings up V, you're going to know exactly what they're talking about.
Right. And doesn't that endear them?
Yes. If you're the baby writer who rolls their eyes and say, I wasn't born then,
right,
the rest of the writers at the table are, just going to continue the conversation. If you're the writer or the TV exec or anything, the assistant, the script coordinator that knows your film and TV history, you are sought after. They want to talk to you. They want you to speak up in the room or in the pitch because you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I would just say Rosebud under any condition. People will think, well,
Everybody will go, Terry has a point.
Yeah, I remember that. That's a very important
Rosebud.
word. Let's move on.
Okay. V was created by writer-director Kenneth Johnson, and it aired on NBC for 2 nights starting on May 1st, 1983. It had a $13 million budget. Huge for television back then. It had really cool makeup effects for its time. The effects were of reptilian features underneath the visitors' human-like masks. Also, the title had 2 meanings: V for visitors, who landed on Earth, and victory, the battle cry of the rebellion that forms when the visitors are revealed as scaly predators. As their power grows, the aliens round up resistors who become their favorite new source of food.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we're not even talking about labor. We're just eating them. Okay. Let's step back and focus on the creator. Writer-director Kenneth Johnson was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I've heard that name, I think. I've always thought it was like a fake place. It sounds adorable.
Yeah.
Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Arkansas? Arkansas.
I think it's Arkansas.
Arkansas, in 1942, and his family moved to Washington, D.C., so his dad could serve on a general staff during World War II. Now, I wasn't born then. No, but doesn't that sound really far away?
But I heard there was a war.
Yes. Johnson's parents divorced when he was 4, and his father returned to Arkansas. His mother remarried, and Kenny described his upbringing this way. Quote, I was raised outside of Washington, D.C. by my mother and stepfather, a Yankee from Worcester, Massachusetts, who was a bigger bigot about Black people than she was. Plus, he was anti-Semitic. End quote. Johnson attributes his biological father's influence to keeping him from becoming a bigot. Horrible way to grow up. In the 1980s, Johnson was among Hollywood's top TV showrunners. He wrote on The $6 Million Man and created its spin-off, The Bionic Woman, and the Marvel series, The Incredible Hulk. Terry, can you tell us what those series were about?
Yes, The $6 Million Man is a science fiction and action television series that ran from 1973 to 1978 about a former astronaut, USAF Colonel Steve Austin, portrayed by Lee Majors. After a NASA test flight accident, Austin is rebuilt with bionic implants, which give him superhuman strength, speed, and vision.
Can you give us the, would you call it a sting or when you drop in a sound effect?
Yeah.
Do that again?
Yeah, I feel
they would slow down and he would like be jumping and it would go, whatever you just did. It was a great sound effect.
Yeah, some of my implants actually reacted to that, saying, I'm going to do that more often. It's cool.
And what's next? The Bionic Woman?
Because the spinoff of the popular series of The $6 Million Man is The $6 Million Woman, or as she was paid, The $2 Million Woman. The Bionic Woman is a classic hour-long science fiction and action series about Jamie Summers, played by Lindsay Wagner, a professional tennis player who gains superhuman strength after receiving bionic implants. Again with the bionic implants. I have a side thing with this. Did I mention my wife is a costumer?
She's amazing.
She's a huge talent.
Yes.
And one day, working at Warner Brothers lot, which, by the way, the Warner Brothers costume department seriously should be part of a tour. It's amazing.
I've been in it, and it's amazing.
It's amazing. So they're in one of these cool rooms, and they're working on something, and in walks Lindsay Wagner.
Wow.
And
so beautiful.
Yeah. And she has not changed a bit, by the way. She looks like she could still do the show.
I believe that.
And
I follow her on Twitter, so.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And so she looks great, and she's there to do something for somebody, which involved her original costume. And so my wife turns around, and there she is with the costume, which is really kind of an iconic moment.
Oh, my goodness.
And so she said something along to him and said, "Oh, you want your picture taken with this costume just like me. Come on over." And so we have that picture.
What?
She was so sweet.
Nice person.
Yeah. And I mean, nobody said anything, but I really think she probably could have gotten into it, although that thing was made for size teeny.
Negative 24 0.
Yes. Yeah. But,
Is this recently?
Yeah, this was within the last few years.
Because she appeared on my friend's show, Call Me Kat, which was on the Warner Brothers lot.
That was probably it.
Kathy Rager, not my friend, our friend. Kathy
friend.
Rager.
Yeah.
In The Incredible Hulk. Can you tell the writers what The Incredible Hulk was
Yes, The Incredible Hulk, Dr. David Banner, as you all know, is a widowed scientist caught in the middle of an experiment gone bad. You don't want that. As a result, whenever Banner gets extremely upset, sounds a lot like me actually, or stressed out, he turns into a huge green monster called the Incredible Hulk, with awesome strength and rage to match. The series' 2-hour television pilot movie, which established the Hulk's origins, aired on November 4th, 1977. The series' 80 episodes, 80, really?
Wow.
80 episodes were originally broadcast by CBS over 5 seasons from 78 to 82. It was developed and produced by Kenneth Johnson, as we've mentioned, who also wrote or directed some episodes. The series ends with David Banner continuing to search for a cure. He wants a cure for that, huh?
Yes.
Because he's driving along and somebody cuts him off, and all of a sudden he's ripping his own car apart.
Now, I'm familiar with The Incredible Hulk, but I haven't seen it. I'm not saying, I don't know what it is. I'm literally not saying that. I assume when he got angry in the series, it was probably in defense of someone. But for 5 seasons, they had to write moments where this guy got upset to turn into the Incredible Hulk. Would it be things like he's at the supermarket and they're out of cinnamon Pop-Tarts? or was someone, being mean to a horse and he
It's got to be the horse thing, because if he has a hangnail and kills somebody, that's not going on the air.
That couldn't last 5 seasons.
No.
Okay. Even with that success, Johnson wanted more. He wanted to create something significant, something that would last, and he wanted to get out of the sci-fi genre. He just kind of wanted to leave that behind for good. Johnson developed a pitch with Sinclair Lewis's dystopian 1935 novel, It Can't Happen Here, as his inspiration. It Can't Happen Here was written during Mussolini's rise in Italy and Hitler's takeover of Germany. Lewis intended it to warn complacent Americans that their democracy was most vulnerable than they realized. In Lewis's book, the United States is torn apart by a flamboyant, blowhard politician who uses his fear-mongering and empty promises to the working class to win an election before consolidating his power, shattering the traditions of governance, breaking any laws that constrained him, and stoking paranoia and division. The pitch landed at NBC, where the then president of entertainment, and you'll recognize this name, Brandon Tartikoff, was looking for bold projects that would take his network from last to first place. Again, kids, if you ever want to write for television, you don't have to know the name Brandon Tartikoff. It'd just be would be good for you to know. There were just 3 networks at one time, ABC, NBC, CBS, and they were all jockeying for position.
Right.
It was really, really important to be number one.
Yeah.
Up to the 1980s, the 3 original networks enjoyed a monopoly in the television industry. Brandon would become legendary for program hits like Miami Vice, The Cosby Show, Law and Order, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I think Seinfeld was one of his lasts before he died. After the pitch, Brandon wanted to work with Johnson and he wanted to make the miniseries, but he thought that the outside forces that invaded the United States should be the Soviet or the Chinese. I guess he just felt that would be cleaner. And there was a program executive in the meeting, and his name was Jeff Sagansky. Jeff would become his own big power player. He would become president of CBS Entertainment and later co-president of Sony Pictures. This is what he said, quote, "I got up, I went to the window, and I said, picture small spaceships buzzing up and down Burbank Boulevard. These aliens, they say they're coming in peace." Johnson was, no. Johnson wanted nothing to do with aliens. Because what? Aliens are sci-fi. He doesn't want to be back in the sci-fi game, and he wants to be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Johnson left the meeting. He was mad as hell, and he was adamant he was not going to change his pitch into an alien invasion. And then he thought about it for a while, and he thought, you know what? Rod Serling said a lot with The Twilight Zone.
Right.
And he realized that Sagansky actually gave him a gift, and he decided to accept the alien idea. I love that he decided to go into The Twilight Zone.
Yes.
Johnson said V was always about how individual people react to power. Some will suck up like the Vichy French did to the Nazis, and others will try to keep their heads down. The heroes say, this power is being abused and we have to fight back. Therein lies the miniseries. Johnson did a major rewrite on the pitch, adding in the alien invasion, and V got the green light. NBC agreed to air it, and Warner Brothers signed on to produce the 4-hour miniseries for $8 million. So it started at 8 and it went to $13 million. That's about the same amount of money George Lucas got for Star Wars 6 years earlier. So
8 million?
13 million, I bet.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a lot of money, but it is 4 hours. It's never been done. It sounds like it's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, it's one letter.
Yeah. So 8 million really sounds low even in that day, but it did go to 13. All good, right?
Right.
Well, NBC told Johnson they wanted it all done fast. They wanted V for May 1983 Sweeps Week. Terry, can you explain what Sweeps Week means?
I cannot, but Don Felcher can, boy. He wrote a really nice article, and I'm about to read some of that. Sweeps Week. That time of year when plot lines get thrown out the window as network executives feverishly pray that ratings will follow them through the roof. 4 weeks a year, networks inundate the TV viewing public with a veritable flood of plot-twisting, cringe-inducing, shark-jumping moments in the hopes they'll tune in. Please, just tune in order to give the networks a vital boost during the critical periods when Nielsen Media Research takes its regular survey of TV viewing habits. Networks use the data Nielsen gathers during each period to set advertising rates, which comprise the bulk of TV ad revenue. They are separately based on year-round data from select families. Still, local ads are a big chunk of a TV network's revenue. So when sweeps weeks roll around, they try and game the system by doing just about anything to make sure you tune in. Some examples? ER performed an entire episode live in 1997. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
The camera crew caught in the background was explained away as a PBS documentary crew filming at the hospital. Those guys are doing that all the time. The same year, Ellen DeGeneres came out as a lesbian on her sitcom Ellen. She did it for the money, huh?
Yes, she did.
and networks even distributed special glasses around the country and showed some episodes in 3D, an experiment that largely fizzled. I don't think so. I'm still wearing mine.
Did it come in TV Guide or something? Did you rip out the insert?
I got it when I bought a Slurpee. I'm not kidding.
Wow, so it was at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they were there for free, but I was there for the Slurpee.
Yeah.
It was a hot summer.
So basically, they would stunt cast a TV show. Then they could go to the advertisers and say, look, we're number one. And you should advertise on our network instead of CBS because...
We're the only one that has Elvis.
Exactly.
And he used to be dead.
Johnson says from the day that Brandon read the screenplay, he read it on a weekend and said go. And until the day that he said action on set was 2.5 weeks. That blows my mind away. So their pre-production was 2.5 weeks. For a mini series for 4 hours.
Nope. Can't be done.
Cannot be done. V had a huge cast. I looked at the credits, 11 was just in the main credits. That's not the end credits. And for all the actors out there who are listening, you'll want to be in the main credits, not the end credits. But congratulations if you are on the end credits, including Mark Singer as the news cameraman, Mike Donovan, who is determined to bring the unvarnished truth about the visitors to the public. Terry, here's a picture of Mark Singer. Do you recognize him or did you know him?
I do recognize him, but I'm not sure on what.
Mark Singer is the Canadian-born actor best known for his role in the Beastmaster film series.
Beastmaster.
I've never seen it. Yeah. Just because I have never wanted to. But you would think I would because of his secret. Did you ever watch the Beastmaster films?
No, that's
not his secret, his superpower.
Oh.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, Beastmaster is kind of one of those titles that just does not draw a guy like me in. No. I mean, okay. I wouldn't mind being called the Beastmaster, but going to see something differently.
Yes.
It's a different thing.
Now, The Beastmaster is a 1982 sword and sorcery film directed by Don Coscarelli and starring Mark Singer, Tanya Roberts, John Amos, and Rip Torn.
Wow.
Rip?
Whoa.
Loosely based on the 1959 novel The Beastmaster by Andre Norton, the film is about a man who can communicate with animals and who fights an evil wizard and his army.
Every animal?
Yes, I think every animal. But probably depending on the budget. They chose the animals.
So like a mosquito, they're not going to pay for a mosquito.
Probably elephants,
all right.
Squirrels,
yeah, that'd be
raccoons.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What would you have a squirrel do? So they could tell them, hey, go nuts. I don't know.
Exactly. When I worked on Sarah Connor, my chestnut that I always talk about, the Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicles, there was a character that was an actor who the Terminator turned themselves into. Oh, I'm forgetting his name, but he was a playoff of the Beastmaster. So they had like a Beastmaster film, TV series within Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh, really?
So just another reason why to rent Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. Such a good series. One of the most memorable moments in the series is when Mark Singer captures footage of the visitors' true faces after sneaking aboard the mothership. Because remember, in the series, they looked like humans, but underneath they were scaly lizards. It's a tension-filled scene helped by the unsettling music score by Joe Harnell. Johnson purposely crafted his story around a journalist saying, quote, "It was so obvious when I was writing the original V that how do you do this? How do you do this if you are an alien force coming in? Then I realized, of course, it's communication. It's all has to do with communication, because as soon as you screw up communication, you can take control." End quote. Another important character, Juliet Parrish, she was also in Seventh Heaven, played by Faye Grant, is a medical student. The visitors set out to foment distrust of the scientists because they are the ones most likely to figure out their true nature and intentions. Juliet reluctantly becomes the leader of a ragtag band of resistance fighters comprised of scientists and police officers. According to Johnson, quote, "The character of Juliet is named for my daughter, but based on a woman named Andrea Dejean, who was a Belgian nurse, 19 years old. She became one of the leaders of the resistance during World War II. She was even captured a couple of times by the Nazis. The first time they actually let her go because they said, 'She's just a girl. She couldn't be helping out very much.'" End quote. Others in the cast include Blair Tefklin as Robin, a teenager impregnated by one of the visitors. David Packer, who played her neighbor Daniel, is a teen who finds purpose by joining the visitors' youth. And Robert Englund, pre-Freddy Krueger,
Right.
playing a sympathetic alien Willie. I'm liking these characters. I think Johnson was doing a great job.
Yeah.
4 weeks into filming, one of the actors was murdered. Yeah, there's a shocker. You're going to be familiar with this name, Terry. Dominique Dunn, who played the older sister in the hit film Poltergeist, was originally hired to play Robin, the teen who falls for the handsome young alien patrolling her neighborhood, who eventually finds herself pregnant with his child. The lingering question in the series, what kind of child would it be? Now, we've talked about Dominic on the podcast. Dominic was just 22 years old when she was attacked outside her West Hollywood home on October 20th, 1982, by her ex-boyfriend, John Thomas Sweeney, who was a sous chef at Malmaison. The medical examiner testified in the trial that Dominique's fatal injury came from being strangled for 4 minutes. Sweeney was released on parole after 3 years and 7 months. Oof, I just hate this part so much. An extra week of filming was added to the production to recreate work that Dunn had already completed. Quote by Johnson, "We had the physical problem of having to go back and reshoot scenes with a brand new actress who had to step in the role that a beloved person had been playing." End quote. The new actress, Tepkin, sums up the reshoot with 2 words, awkward and sad. Now, as I mentioned before, we covered this tragedy of Dominique's story on episode 37. So if you want to go back and listen to that episode, it was episode 37. V was watched in more than 33 million homes, which amounts to 40% of all of TV viewership. The most popular television series today. Can you guess what it is? The most popular television series today, Terry?
The most popular one today. I'm going to say reruns of Seinfeld.
Yellowstone. Yellowstone averages 13.1 million viewers per episode.
Wow.
So the pie is just so much bigger. It's impossible to get 33 million, I guess, anymore. I guess maybe, I don't know. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about how this division has changed everything. It's happened in almost every recordable art form.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make it of. The thing I miss about it was what I loved in high school, in that everybody in my high school class and everybody in every person's high school class across the entire United States knew the same 10 songs that they loved.
Yeah.
And that continuity lives today. When I run into somebody my age, Rosie and I are the same friend of ours, is the same age. And every time we talk about college, we start listing songs from college.
Yes.
And I went through this with my daughter, who is not my age, because you know how that works.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that, because we talk about music a lot. And so I say to her, what songs do you guys like? Mm-hmm. And she says, well, everybody has their own genre, sort of.
Interesting.
Yeah. But they do. Well, here's the deal. They're mentioned, then they're looked up on YouTube. They hear them, and that's usually the end of it, which is not the fun part. The fun part is when your favorite song comes on the radio when you're driving your car.
Right.
Radio.
Right.
And you start singing out the window, and then you're, pulled over by police officers who are not into the song like you should be.
Yeah. Especially if it's NWA.
That's right.
They do not like that song.
They didn't have any of that when I was getting arrested. Anyway.
And is the right phenoms, moments, there's that moment of MASH, which I don't even know how many people watched the last episode of MASH, but it was also recorded toilet flushes because you could not pause. And so all over the United States, water pressure went crazy because nobody could leave the couch.
Yeah.
Try that, kids. Try that at home. Try not leaving your couch.
Yeah, and the next day effect. When you talk about something.
The water
cooler moment.
Effect. Water coolers are the sparklets that are in the corner of the production office, kids. And that's where people stood around and talked about TV shows. And trust me, in a writer's room the next day, there's always one TV show catches the fancy of a writer's room.
Yeah.
And they all watch it.
Because they can't believe they're getting away with writing what they're writing.
Yes, that, and they can't believe they're getting away with what they're writing. And there's also the admiration of, why don't we get to write that stuff? Why don't we have that budget?
Yeah.
Why doesn't that actress want to do our show?
Yeah.
So V was a smash with audience and critics alike. NBC and Warner Brothers were excited to keep V going, and V, The Final Battle, which was a 6-hour sequel, was commissioned.
Oh.
Now, you would think that Kenneth Johnson must have been on top of the world, right?
Dancing every morning.
Dancing in September. Here's what happened next, according to Johnson. Quote, I sat down in the summer of '83 with TV writers Craig Buck, Peggy Goldman, and Diana Frolove. And the four of us crafted a script that was, in many ways, I think, better than my original 4-hour had been. Or at least it took it into a different place that I had been able to. And it was really, really, really a cool script. But Warner Brothers was concerned that I wouldn't do it, and this is a direct quote, as quick and cheap and dirty as they wanted it. Realizing the studio was actively undercutting the sequel for the sake of saving a few dollars, Johnson chose to walk away, with his screenplay credited to Lillian Weezer. V retains a cult status. Englund recalls meeting a V fan at a sci-fi convention who showed off a neck tattoo of the alien symbol that adorns the visitors' hats and uniforms. It's a vertical line with 2 vertical dashes extending from the bottom left and top right. 2 circles sit at the center. Englund explained to the fan the meaning. If you connect the dots, it's a swastika.
Oh, my goodness.
The fan was horrified.
And his wife, who never lived with him since he had the tattoo, was horrified.
Was horrified too, yes. Now, if you want to go watch V, you are able to stream V or rent it, or you can purchase it on Amazon Instant Videos, iTunes, Google Play, and Vudu. And I even saw a VHS tape on Amazon for $4.49. Terry, we checked out some Best Buy reviews. You want to read a couple of them for us?
The first one is entitled Made for TV 80s Alien Fascist, 5 stars. It goes on to say, a good old-fashioned 80s made for TV miniseries. My wife found this and scoffed it right up. Having seen this on TV the first time around when I was a boy was enough for me to give this a buy. V is an old TV classic. It is not over the top. The series, at least the original miniseries, has an undertone of how easily politicians and our youth can be easily turned to work against our own best interests and actually be led to destroy the very thing that can save us. The issues discussed in the show are just as relevant today as it was back in the 80s. The special effects do not hold up well compared with today's technology, but it's a worthy piece of science fiction to add to your collection. Did he mean that, for instance, the voices are something he thought were too dumb?
What do you mean?
Well, they used to harmonize. This is back in the days when, I guess, to rent a harmonizer, I think it was like $50 a day. And so I'm thinking, you would go to a rental place and you take the harmonizer is something that you pitch up your voice and lower your voice, and that became the alien sound. Now it's a plug-in. I have one right here. Here's the plug-in. I am an alien. Please run from me, or I will eat you. Be afraid because of my voice. So that's what, now that's $40 to buy and you own it forever.
Get out of town.
Yeah, so they cut that out, and it just made me, when I found that out, it kind of made me laugh because I said they must have been so tight with money that they said.
So the actor would just be doing their lines, and that would be in post, they would just lay it over. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, because I just said, I'm an alien, and if I just go, I'm an alien, who have I scared with that voice? No one. They're going, you're an alien. Great.
Wow, interesting. Now, do you think you and Sharon will ever sit down and maybe take a look at the original miniseries V?
I picture us in a snowstorm.
Oh, yes.
In the middle of wherever.
I would love that. Please call me over.
You can't open you open the door and there's snow.
Yes.
Did you see these pictures, by the way, of these people up in Big Bear?
I do know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, you go with it.
And you can do a signature cocktail to go with V.
I think it would be, you have to find foods to eat that start with V. I think Velveeta would be on the choice.
I love it.
You'd be doing a lot of cheese things with that.
Yes.
And then what else? Vodka?
Vodka, yes.
Vodka and Velveeta. Ooh. That's going to look bad later on.
That's a wrap for the Writers Hangout. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, like, and thrive. Till we get to hang out again, keep writing. The world needs your stories. The Writers Hangout is sponsored by the Page International Screenwriting Awards. Executive producer, Kristen O'Verne. Producers, Terry Sampson and Sandy Adamitis. Music by Ethan Stoller.
My research for this episode was an article from Vanity Fair, IGN, Wikipedia, and IMDb.